Hey, my name is ShawNshawN. I sell art on ShawNshawN.co. Today we're going to review Smile.
Hi.
So this is directed by Parker Finn. He's also the writer, so a very tight-knit director-writer team, being himself, which always leads to a pretty good story. I think there's less cooks in the soup, so to say. Time is an hour and 55 minutes, so a little longer than the hour and a half I usually like, but I think here it's kind of justified as far as I didn't feel like the film was slow at any point. And horror films tend to need a little bit of kind of really time to build on all the intense. You can't just move it along fast like an action film. Actors are Sosie plays Rose Cotter. She plays a therapist and the victim. Gallner plays Joel, ex-boyfriend and cop of Sosie. Stasey plays Laura Weaver. Robin Weigert plays Dr. Madeline Northcott, who is the therapist for Rose. Jessie Usher plays Trevor, the boyfriend of Rose. Kal Penn plays Dr. Morgan Desai, who's Rose's boss at the emergency hospital. So this Dr. Cotter is a psych ward doctor, kind of therapist, so she sees all the latest crazy cases that come in and they're severely traumatized and looking for help. And she has a patient come in and she's just backed up in the corner, completely paranoid, completely obsessed, and she's like, oh, there's something after me, I don't know what it is, they keep showing up in different faces and whatever. And then she calls for help on the telephone and she turns around and the girl just like with a big smile and kills herself, and she's like, what the hell is this, right? And then later on in the day, a couple days later, she's starting to see some of the effects on her as well. She's, started to see faces and things are going terribly wrong for her and people are suspecting her of going crazy. And so she's trying to resolve this before she gets suicided as well. So there's a really good, the soundtrack in this is just awesome. They really build up a lot of atmosphere with the sound, which is really crucial, I think, in a horror film. But this film does it exceptionally well, I would say. There's a lot of just like crescendos of sound and then dead silence, and then slowly build up in a crescendo sound and then dead silence. So really great jump, build up, drop, build up, drop. A lot of them are fake scares, so it's just kind of like you don't know where it's going kind of thing, but some of them are real scares, so it's a really great transition with just the sound alone. There's a lot of good sense of jump scares here. A lot of them you don't really see coming. One I did because of the marketing, they use one of them, right? But outside of that, it's pretty well done. There was only one scene that I foreseen when something terrible happens to your cat. I was kind of like, okay, there's something going to happen with her cat, it's going to be this. There's multiple layers to various suicide victims, so it's not just a one-time event. There turns out to be a whole series of victims tied to this one mysterious death at the hospital, and a doctor therapist is trying to figure it out and figure out, hey, is there a way to stop this, before something happens to her. And the beast that's behind these kind of killings, he feeds on the trauma of victims. So each victim has some kind of trauma that makes him attracted to their souls. It's very nicely woven together because in the reality of life, abuse or trauma victims, sometimes they perpetuate the same abuse or trauma on their own kids, or they leave it in the future, so it's kind of this cycle of violence that kind of in trauma that repeats itself. Also, a lot of therapists, usually something bad happened to them as well, so they're trying to resolve, so it doesn't happen to someone in the future because they have PTSD or spider sense, you could call it, about new trauma and kind of how to work some situation without someone blowing up out of control. And so this is why Dr. Cotter is in the therapy herself, because it turns out her mother committed suicide, which you don't really figure out in the beginning of the film, but they kind of resolve it at the end of the film. The doctor finds out she has like this 4 to 7 day window to figure out how to stop this monster, how to stop this kind of possession. And so you have a really nice tight timeline in the movie. They're like, oh my God, I got 4 days to live, 3 days to live, 2 days to live. So it's really a really nice build there. The main victim has witnessed the suicide of her own mother that led to her initial trauma and also the attraction of the beast to her possession. So that's a really nice kind of twist, and it ties it together very nicely at the end of the story. The Dr. Cotter, she begins to lose various family members as they begin to suspect her if you're going completely crazy and losing your mind, and like there's something wrong with her, I gotta like separate from you. So she she slowly just kind of lose all her familiar binds that kind of are protecting her and builds up for the ultimate sacrifice to the beast. It's just a classic story of possession where there's a cycle of possession and you're kind of seeing this. So kind of, if you think about it, kind of Exorcist light, but without all the religious overtones. So I really like that, and the kind of scientists, diving into how to explain it. So that I think that was really nice without diving into the religious mumbo jumbo of the Catholic Church has to save everyone. Which was made more sense probably in the 70s than it does now in the 2020s. But I think it was a very fun film. I recommend it. I don't know if I collect it, but it's pretty up there. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, horror films, you've seen them once, they're not scary the second time. I found that out with The Shining. I saw it 2 or 3 times, and by the third time, it's just not that scary. If you'd like to subscribe, you can subscribe below. and I'll see you on the next movie review. Thanks for watching, guys.